All right, guys. We are here today. PPI inflation data coming out at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Did the pay package get approved? Did it really? I see. Yeah, Tesla's up. Good. I'm in Tesla. I'm glad it's up. That's nice. Nvidia up a little bit also. Apple, the other crazy stock yesterday, got up to 120s or 220s. Dipped a little bit right at the close yesterday, but that's all right. Yeah, PPI inflation data drops at 8:30. Let me get a timer up. Oh man! All right, we got an hour and what 50. It's about right. Hour and 53 minutes. Yeah, so both Tesla shareholder resolutions passed by pretty big margins, they're saying. All right, guys. So Tesla shareholders did back the $56 billion package. All right, guys. The Linux founder loses it when he talks about Nvidia in 2012. I'm seeing this old video where he basically says Nvidia F you. Interesting. He didn't like him. This was in sorry. This was in 2011. So this was roughly 14 years ago. 13 years ago. Oh, all right, guys. So, I'm looking at other stuff today. Bro, okay. No, I don't even know it. I can't even talk about this, but it's just some of these videos online are just troubling. Uh, all right, guys. So again, Nvidia at 128, 128. Ugh. QQQ, morning, John. Felt like the Super Bowl yesterday. Yeah, I did. A lot of streams. Fun time, you know. New FSD for 12.4 having some issues with eye tracking under sunlight shadow conditions, but it removed the steering wheel nag one step closer to that full FSD, hopefully done by August. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not shorting Nvidia. That seems silly, you know. Do you think GameStop going to drop a big announcement today? Maybe. I mean, GameStop, it's still up there. I mean, it's at 2630s. I'm in it. I hope it goes up. I don't know what it's going to do, though. High PPI. So, yeah, PPI is expected at 0.1%. 0.1% is what PPI is expected for. Core PPI expected at 0.2%. And so this was a little bit different. Like, this is producer prices, like business inflation. So it's not as simple as higher is worse, lower is better. It's just not. You know, this one is definitely more nuanced in terms of its reactions, and it's not as predictable, I would say. Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to drink my coffee and. Do you think that PPI data will come lesser than expected because of lesser CPI and inflation data? Not always. There's not always a correlation there. PPI 2%, core PPI 2.8%. Do you mean on the year? Yeah, you must be talking about on the year. On the year, that might be accurate. I'm going to go with as expected. I think we're going to come in at 0.1% PPI month to month, 0.2% PPI year to year, or 0.2% core PPI month to month. Wouldn't the correlation be the other way around? High PPI, for example, could indicate higher prices for production, which may be passed on to consumers later on. Yeah, I mean, possibly. Again, PPI is more ambiguous. It's more nuanced. It's more unpredictable, I would argue. SPY, like, again, I got the CPI data exactly right yesterday. Exactly right. And again, the likelihood that I was able to do that was very low. I'm still kind of surprised by it, to be honest. I'm not trying to brag. I mean, I guess I'm bragging a little bit because it's kind of impressive. But I told people an hour and a half before CPI came out, I thought it was going to come in at 0%. And what did I say it was on the year? I thought it was going to come out at 0% and 3.3% year over year, and that's exactly what it showed up as. But I think PPI I've had less accuracy with it. It's just less predictable, in my opinion. I might be wrong, but again, I'm going to go with as expected. I'm going to go with 0.1% PPI month to month. Core PPI, I'm going to go with 0.2%. Haha, you're always right, bro. That's why there's thousands here. Yeah, I mean, I think after a certain point, people start to realize, like, hey, even if it's luck, I got like 5 out of the last 7 CPI reports exactly right, which is pretty improbable. The odds that I would be able to do that is pretty low. So I'm proud of it, I guess. But, maybe I'm just in tune with the universe, bro. That's all I'm saying. Y'all will never hear the end of it. Again, I told you guys yesterday, you're never going to hear the end of it. PPI last month showed up at 0.5%, 0.4% for core. It's hard for me to buy right now with prices so extended on pure bull. This is pullback, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for something to pull back first. I can't say what. I don't know if it's going to pull back. I think it's fine to wait for pullbacks like I do to a point. I think a lot of the time people end up missing out on the big runs because they think markets have to pull back, and they don't. They can just keep on going. And I think that's very clear if you look at like the history of the market. That's something that happens a lot. You know, the market will just kind of keep on riding up. Yeah, you got a lot of bunch of people still doing the same thing where you got a bunch of people that are just covering GameStop again. And that's fine, but it's a little bit too much. Like at a certain point, if a new conspiracy theory is coming out every other week, then you got to kind of shut it down, I think, and understand. Like that's when I kind of stray away from it. I'm in GameStop. I'm here for the ride. I want it to go up. I hope the company reinvents themselves, all that good stuff. But I'm not going to tell people there's a new conspiracy every other day just to get views and grow a following online. I think that's ridiculous. Is UFC 303 still happening? Yeah, Connor said, quote, I think the more resistance you train with, the less movement and the more injury, he said in one of the old clips that he posted, deleted. He said, but the less resistance you train with, the more movement and the less injury. Yeah, that's just kind of the nature of martial arts, I think, though, you know. And again, I'm just a white belt in jiu-jitsu, so, like, I'm certainly not a martial arts expert. But from what I can see, if you don't want people to get hurt, you can't train at full resistance. Like, I don't know, my gym's different. Like, my gym, the coaches that I have typically roll and encourage me to roll and try to win, right? Like, we're not flow rolling the whole time. Like, we might flow roll once, but after that, we're trying to cement the other person. We're not slamming them on the ground. That's the difference between jiu-jitsu. And I like guillotines, but the problem with guillotines is very simple. Guillotines would work on the street, but not a standing guillotine wouldn't. A standing guillotine's not going to work. Usually with guillotines, I kind of drag them down to the ground first to get front headlock position and then do whatever. Anyways, the premise. McGregor taking pages out of Ryan Garcia's? Yeah, maybe. What does that look like, though? I don't think video game producers are going to start handing over digital downloads rights to GameStop. They'll retain those themselves. Yeah, for sure. They're going to have to figure it out a different way. Again, what I would do what I would do is, yeah, let me do a poll. What I would personally do is, I would reinvent myself to be like comics, like cards, Pokemon cards, sports cards. Those industries are growing fast right now. Pokemon, sports cards, comic books, game memorabilia. Like, I think that makes sense. And then you can still sell games and game products and game stuff, because a lot of game shops already are like that. But just, you can even keep the name GameStop because it's still talking about games. Pokemon is a game. Comic books are game related a lot of the time. Sports, as baseball's a game, football's a game. Like, you can still cover those type of things, but just branch out and diversify into multiple. Do you think gold or silver is likely to reach the floor around 23? I mean, I think it's possible it keeps going down with 1 to 0 rates being cut in. I mean, I think gold could come down. I mean, I don't think there's ever necessarily like a short-term floor with gold. I think it could get really volatile and it can go up big and down big, and we've seen that in history. But I think it's unlikely that gold breaks back under 2,000 anytime. I think it's unlikely that maybe 2,000's not the right one. I think it's unlikely gold breaks under 1,700 again. I think it's unlikely gold breaks under 1,700. 2,300 is way too close. 2,300 is essentially right underneath us. So I don't think that is, yeah. I think that's too close. Right, for sure. I think that's what you do. You just start selling those products. You start marketing for those products more. Vending sports equipment for youth athletics. Yeah, I think that's too different of a niche. I think it's too different of a niche. Like, the goal with GameStop would be to transition your audience from video games to something else that they're already interested in. I guess my point is, I don't think Pokemon players and Magic the Gathering players are the most athletic sports-based audience, right? Like, I don't think that is going to be as clean of a transition. But I do think, like, Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards, video games, those all mesh fairly well with each other. Sports cards even. I think sports card collectors, a lot of them don't even play sports. Yeah. All right, chat. Where's my coffee at? All right, guys. So again, SPY is mostly green, not crazy green. Nvidia is up a lot this morning, though. So Nvidia is up a bunch. It's all the way up to around 127s, 128s. It's a crazy amount. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm looking at other stocks here. Apple, crazy moves yesterday. Apple went all the way up to 220s, sitting at 213s, 214s right now, but got all the way up to 220s, which is a crazy move. Again, a couple weeks ago, people were saying Apple was done. It was going to get booted out of the S&P. It wasn't part of the Mag 7 anymore. And I shamed people who said that because it's just a ridiculous statement. Like, y'all are too emotional. Whoever said that, you're too emotional, right? Like you're getting so polarized with stocks so quickly, and that's ridiculous. Like, you got to understand, there's a reason stocks like Apple succeed. Is because they have a lock on whatever their business is. Apple has a lock in the U.S. smartphone market. They are not. Nobody's about to beat Apple at the U.S. smartphone market anytime soon. And so betting against that, acting like that company's going to fail, it just shows a lack of understanding. And I think it's really easy to sway. Like, again, I'm a day trader as well. I think day traders are the ones that are most easily swayed, right? Because they're so used to looking at big swings and volatility is what day traders look at. And so they think that the blue chip market's like that, and it's not. You might have small swings, but Apple's not going to get booted out of the, out of the S&P from a bad quarter, which wasn't even bad. This is supposed to be. So the previous PPI data was 0.5%. If it goes lower, is that bullish for the Dixie? I'm kind of new. I wouldn't say it's either or. I think it could be either one. I think if it was CPI, it would be a little bit. If it was CPI, it'd be a little bit more answerable. PPI is more nuanced. It varies. It really does. So, like, what I mean by that is sometimes PPI will come in higher than expected. The market will react positively. Sometimes PPI will come in lower than expected. The market will react negatively. All right. We're doing our poll. Yeah, again, let me know what you guys think. Do we come in higher or lower than the 0.1% expected? Vote on that poll. Let me know what you guys think. All right, so yeah, and again, typically lower inflation is better, and that's usually what I would argue is happening here. Tesla just spiked up a little bit, so look at Tesla's spike. Here's Tesla on the left side. Tesla got their share package approved. It just spiked up to almost 189. So here, I'm in Tesla. Now remember, PPI measures the change over time in the selling prices received by domestic producers for their output. Right, so again, it's the change over time in the selling prices received by the domestic producers for their output. It's a key indication of inflation at wholesale levels and can provide insights into future consumer price inflation. There's cost push inflation, which often indicates that the cost of production for goods and services are rising. Producers may pass these higher costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices, leading to consumer price inflation, known as cost push inflation. Basically, businesses are paying more, so in turn, the consumer is going to end up paying more, right? So in that regard, higher PPI could signal higher CPI, right? And vice versa. Lower CPI or lower PPI could signal lower CPI because of cost push dynamics. Supply chain dynamics are also a factor, which is an increase in PPI can also reflect supply chain issues, such as shortages of materials, higher transportation costs, and these factors can drive up production costs and lead to higher consumer prices as well, right? So again, higher PPI prices can ultimately be driven to higher CPI prices. You can have different sector impacts as well. So it's PPI specifically is measured across multiple different sectors, including manufacturing, agriculture, services, which we see like PMI drop for, mining, stuff like that, right? So an increase in PPI in one sector might not necessarily, and again, this is where the nuance comes in, an increase in PPI in one sector might not necessarily translate completely across the entire economy. A rise in agriculture PPI might lead to higher food prices, where an increase in manufacturing PPI might affect consumer goods, right? So it depends on what sector it happens in. Now, a decrease in PPI can signal deflation, deflationary pressures. Producers are receiving lower prices for their goods and services, and this can occur due to excess supply, decreased demand, lower input costs, so forth and so on. Lower PPI can also lead to stable or falling consumer prices, as producers may reduce prices to sell their goods in different markets. It can benefit consumers in short term, but could harm, producers long term. Persistent declines in PPI can indicate worse, broader economic issues. And so ultimately, it depends on what the market wants, right? Lower PPI can be good and bad. Typically, it depends on what the market fears. If the market fears inflation, like yesterday with a hawkish, Fed decision and Powell, it can signal better inflation pressures. Now, there's also a lag effect with PPI. So changes in PPI also precede changes in CPI, which measures consumer inflation. There's a lag between producers when they get higher costs and when the costs are passed on to consumers. So there is a lag effect there. PPI can be influenced by geopolitical events as well, like natural disasters, trade policies. They can cause short-term volatility in PPI with not necessarily impacting CPI in a big, broad way, right? So just because we see higher PPI doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see higher CPI. Central banks monitor PPI and as they do with all inflation, like PCE, CPI. Persistent increases in PPI could cause more tightening, more hawkish Fed, basically. It's important to analyze the different aspects and components of PPI. A rise in PPI for energy might not have the same impact as PPI rising for consumer goods. Higher PPI in general, though, relates to higher inflation. All right, catch it back up in the chat. Is Tesla done? I mean, it's approaching highs. I don't know. Here's highs. You love to see it. Is Gamestop popping? Yeah, gold's back up to almost 27s. Or I'm sorry, GameStop back up to almost 27s. That's good. Let's see if it holds. All right, guys. Tesla at 189.30s here. GameStop at 26.30s. What about Bitcoin? Oracle, man. Oracle had a crazy run, I think yesterday too, right? Oracle, yeah, Oracle's still up. It's at 140 plus. Interesting. Tesla at 189.60s. PPI inflation data, guys. Honestly, we still got an hour and a half, basically, but yeah, Tesla's up a lot. I'm in Tesla. I'm green on it. I have a hard time figuring out what to buy. I see people mentioning Broadcom. Broadcom looks good, but the problem with Broadcom, you know, I got a dude in my jiu-jitsu class that always talks about Broadcom. He's a good guy. He just got his brown belt. He's just a good dude. He's helped me out with my rear naked choke a lot. You know, apparently when I was trying to finish my rear naked choke, I would go like this, right? And I would catch him in it. And I think he was probably letting me catch it, to be honest. He's a brown belt, so I mean, it's very unlikely. I legitimately got a RNC on him. But anyways, I would go like this, you know, and he would always reach up, grab my hand, pull it down, and squirm out of it. So he taught me, he said the way the elite guys do it is they don't go like this. They go like this, you know. So you're not getting their hand. You got to chop like this. Once I started doing that, it's very hard to get out of. Anyways, he likes AVGO. The problem, and I told him the same thing, the problem is that it's up so much. This thing is up for a freaking $1,500 stock. They're going to do a split sometime soon, almost certainly as well. It's up almost 100% on the year. It's up almost 100% on the year. Because of that, it's up a little bit too much for me. Just got the master. What is a master account? So wait. Just got the master account last night and I lost it. Literally every trade I took, it goes the opposite way, and I was buying one contract at a time. Wow, just wow. I mean, listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you, Far. If every trade you took, it went the opposite way, your trading strategy is not that good, bro. Like, my guess is you were doing something like this, right? Like, if it was yesterday, like, typically, this is the big mistake new traders make. I talked about this yesterday. Say this is the opening bell, right? And so new traders are conditioned to go like this, right? New traders are conditioned to go like this. They see something like this where it's like a slight high of the day break, and they buy it right here, right? Then what do you think happens? We're at the top of the range. You know, the stock's going to go like this most of the time. It's going to go right back down, and then they lose because they're trying to buy this breakout like it's about to just go bam. And it's not going to do that. Most of the time in these situations, you're at the top of the range, you know? So if you buy this here, like an example in the SPY, likelihood is it's going to go like this. Look, there's a price action. I can literally show you on the SPY chart. And so in the end, if every trade you take, the stock or securities going the opposite way, then your strategy's not good. You know, you want to switch it up. And don't get too stubborn with strategies either. You know, if you're referring to a funded account program, I'm here to tell you, if that's what you're talking about, you would have probably lost way more money putting the money up yourself. Let's just be real here for a second. But again, if every trade you take is going the opposite way, either you need to scale down and let variance play out because you got a bunch of bad luck, which is less likely, or your strategy is not very good. Okay, so yeah, they better be. I assumed you can tell when a stock starts to get up to like over $1,000, they're going to be doing a split sometime soon. A 10-to-1 split, so they're going to go down to $150. All right, guys. All right, guys. Let's see. Tesla went right up to that 190 spot, pulled directly back down to it. The SPY bounced back up to the 200 EMA. A little bit low liquidity, but that's all right. Nvidia up to 128s, holding firm there. Yeah, I mean, I get funded in like a day usually, but it depends. But guys, my guru said I could make 5K a day. Yeah, that's the problem, man. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The real problem is marketing to day traders. You got a bunch of people telling them that they can get rich. I said this yesterday, and you see some people like it kind of it ruffles the feathers of the people who are really doing this. So in the end, like when I say stuff like that, it makes them come out and be like, "No, you're wrong." When I say, hey, most mentors are full of crap and they're giving you publicly available content for thousands of dollars and you're just falling for it hook, line, and sinker, you know, you're getting taken advantage of by people that have gotten talked into it and bought these mentorship programs are usually the first ones to lash out and get mad and say, no, you're wrong. And it's like, am I? I don't think so. All right, guys. So we're almost here. Again, Tesla at 189s, Apple at 213s. Are demo competitions safe? What do you mean by demo? I should have waited to trade on the master account anyhow until you got here. This is how I know I'm not trash. I already have 2 other accounts passed on Apex. Can't be just my strategy. Yeah, but Apex is just tracking the NASDAQ. Like, it's not like Apex is controlling which way the market goes, brother. Like, it depends on what day you traded. You know, a lot of the time we're going to get choppy, neutral price action. I ended up making money yesterday and the day before, I think. Let me look. Yeah, we made about $300 yesterday. We got another Rhythmic account with nothing on it. When can I get a payout here? I'm looking for it. When do they open up payouts? Is it the 15th, I think, right? Tesla at 189s here, 189s. Oh yeah, I mean it depends on the platform, AV. But I mean Have you had problems getting your payout? No. I have to wait until the 15th. You got to wait until the 15th to do it. I haven't processed mine yet. Yeah, you probably need to trade too small though if like you're losing that fast. You know, I would scale down size. That makes more sense to me. Yeah, you should have a daily loss limit. I know if I lose like a couple $100 on my funded accounts, I have to put them up. I can't play with them anymore. Yeah. Hey, congrats, Matt. That's a great job, dude. Yeah. Can you trade news with your PA? It depends on the strategy. I think you can trade with your regular strategy, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can with. I don't think you can like. You can't just take max size and look to let the volatility from news like rip you into profits, right? Like you can't do that. So you can, but only if you trade the same strategies you've been trading. What's the latest news on Roaring Kitty? How much would PPI affect the news in dollar? Nah, my login's fine on Schwab. I just accept the fact that I'm trash and gonna. I mean, you just need to switch up your strategy. It's smart for beginners to join demo competition to further their experience. Yeah, I mean, learn to do it. I mean, it's up to you, right? Again, I'm sponsored by Apex, right? Apex, for the time being, you can get the 250K challenge for only $48, $35 resets, all universal resets for $35. There's the link right there if you want to check it out. They are a sponsor of mine. I'm biased in their favor. I think it's a great way to learn day trading. I think most day traders lose, and so I think if you put up 5K of your own money, you're probably going to lose it. And using these funded account programs limits that risk, allows you to get started for much cheaper, allows you to trade under pressure and learn. But if you lose, it's not the end of the world. You're going to lose much less than you would putting up 5K yourself and losing that like most new day traders do. Futures markets, very similar to stocks. There's no PDT rule. You can day trade, better liquidity. You can day trade index funds which are very similar to blue chip stock patterns. Just a lot of reasons. Again, if you want to check it out and help support the channel, you can use coupon code BT. We'll get you the max discount at all times, BT. But again, I'm biased in their favor because they pay me money. Please stop spamming. All right, guys. Tesla at 188.80s. Yeah. Cheers to you guys. Hopefully your coffee is strong this morning. Again, we got 1 hour, chat. 1 hour. We got about 600 people here live. All right, SPY now under. I'm going to start day trading here. So we're going to pull it up. My goal is to attack choppy sideways neutral action. We did this yesterday. Worked very well. Very well. Yeah. Would you advise waiting for PPI data before making more investments in the pre-market? I mean, it depends on what you define as investments. I think investments are longer term, so they're less moved by this. But I might day trade choppiness leading into PPI, and then if we get some big reactions from PPI, take some other trades based off of that. But it depends, right? It really depends. Yesterday, CPI came in lower than expected. The market mostly ripped up. Like if we look at a 10-day chart here, here's yesterday's pre-market session. So you can kind of see yesterday's pre-market session. We got a big rise in stock prices. Big rise from CPI, which is the main one. CPI is the big one, right? This is the other side of CPI. This is the PPI Producer Price Index. You can see everything's up a lot. CPI ripped up yesterday, and yeah. NASDAQ chart. All right, so here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, I think this is lifetime highs, 19671. Yeah, NASDAQ broke lifetime highs yesterday. Here's lifetime highs early this morning. So NASDAQ actually broke lifetime highs at 220 this morning. So super early. So understand, like, equities have been breaking highs. I'm not really wanting to buy up anything right now. I'm just letting my current portfolio work. That's essentially what I've been doing. And I'm not up a crazy amount. Like, this is a pretty small trade. This is what I'm currently up in my portfolio right now. So we are currently up. Like, you can kind of see these are the gains in my open positions. Like, we are up about $1,500, $1,400 currently on our portfolio. Not too bad. Never micros, 5 minis. They are 258,000. I'm comfortable leaving at 10. I don't hold losers. I'm 7 days in. My cushion is already 20K per account. Nice. Thank you. I'm about to sub because you're consistent. Hey, thanks, man. We try. The real, again, sometimes I interact with haters too much. Like, I kind of troll people too much, but that's the nature of things. That's how we try to do it. But I'm consistent. I do this every major economic report, earnings report, inflation report, Powell speech. I'm going to be streaming, and that's why people tune in. That's why we get thousands of people here. Even if, some of our other smaller streams are less active, but, the big streams, we always have thousands of people here, and it's been a blessing for my channel. We're just consistent. We're just consistent. We day trade, we swing trade, we invest. I think my investments and swing trades are better than my day trades personally. But I also think that that strategy that we talked about yesterday has been working a lot for me. I can't guarantee it's going to work for you, but it has been working a lot for me. We'll see if it continues. Will PPI come in higher or lower than expected, Chad? Let me know. All right, guys. So Yeah, I'm looking at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ just bounced directly off of the previous closing price. I'm probably going to pull my trades out and start to attack choppy behavior. Just because I can. I think yesterday this worked really well. We're going to try to do it again and you know, kind of see what happens. I think choppy behavior makes sense. And so, yeah. Yeah. NASDAQ bounced directly off of that previous close, but got right back over the 200 EMA. Yeah, so Elon's pay package did get approved. Was it 55 billion pay package? It was a big one for sure. I think it was 55 billion, but I might be wrong. Yeah, I think it was 55 billion. Was it 55 bill or was it different? Let me check. Chat's gonna help me out. I think 56 billion. Yeah, so it was basically 55 bill. 56 billion is what it was. So. Yeah, so. All right, so we got into a really nice trade here, attacking choppy behavior. We're going to go ahead and cut it. Again, now we are up about $415 on the day. Yeah, you love to see it. So again, I'm gonna break down PPI again. PPI measures the change in selling prices received by domestic producers for their output. It's essentially wholesale price inflation. It's a key indication of inflation at the wholesale level and can provide insights into future CPI. Here's how it relates to inflation. The first thing to understand about PPI is cost push, right? Which essentially means that, like, to break cost push down. And again, look at this trade. I'm super excited about this. We're up about 700 in the last 2 days of trading this funded account. Yesterday was the FOMC meeting. To understand cost push, what cost push basically means is that when the cost of productions for goods and services go up, eventually that cost can be passed on to consumers, right? So essentially when PPI increases, CPI can ultimately increase. But there's a lag effect to it. An increase in PPI can also be to supply chain dynamics. It can reflect supply chain issues, shortages of raw materials, higher transportation costs. These can drive up production and lead to higher CPI. Sector-specific impacts, so it can be measured across different sectors: manufacturing, agriculture, mining, services. A decrease in PPI can also signal deflationary pressures, but it can also indicate economic slowdown, right? It can also indicate slowdown in the economy. A persistent, decline in PPI can indicate broader economic issues. So, there's a balancing act, like we always say. There's also a lag effect because typically changes in PPI precede CPI, which means there's a lag between when producers experience the higher costs and when the costs are passed on to consumers. External factors, monetary policy impacts can play a factor here, and yeah, that's essentially what it is. So. In about 45 minutes, we have PPI, the Producer Price Index. It's a huge report. Yeah, it was approved. All right, we're scalping another move here. Again, another choppy behavior. We already cut profit. We are up about 520 on the day or so, about 550 now. You'll have to see it, attacking choppiness. We're going to cut it. So we're up 550 on the day. You know, again, this strategy, guys, I'm telling you, man, this strategy, it works. I can't guarantee it's going to work. You have to be patient. But it's been working very, very, very well for me. I've been talking about this for months now. Same strategy. I've been talking about it for months. No, I have multiple funded Apex accounts. One, I'm about to take a withdrawal in. I'm up thousands. The other one, I'm up about 700 in the last 2 days. I also have multiple other ones, to be honest. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I'm up $826 net in the last 2 days on this one. So again, here is my net profit. Here's today's P&L net, right? So today we are up 525 on the day. We are currently up $826.56 on this account. If we look at today's strats, we traded today and yesterday, right? So if we look at our this week, you know, we are running. This is our accuracy rate, our stats for this week. So we are running, let me see, make sure you guys can see this here. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, so here's my stats this week on one of my Apex accounts, funded accounts. So we are currently up. We're running about 78% accuracy on this account. Here's my profit graph with fees on the bottom. You can kind of see our net profit right here, 826. We're running, again, almost 80% accuracy. Our average losing trade's a little bit more than our average winning trade, but it's so rare, I think I just hold it a little bit longer. My largest winning trade's larger than my largest losing trade, though, so that's nice. So, yeah, we got a good win-loss ratio, good accuracy. See if we can keep that up. What do you think about shorting right before PPI comes out? I think that's a terrible, horrible idea that you can't do it on funded account programs. It's also just a gamble. Like, you know, again, I think a lot of people are trading, but they're just justifying gambling. I think y'all are just gambling sometimes, guys. Like taking a huge position ahead of PPI or even taking a short position ahead of PPI. Why? Like, what's the edge there? Like, please explain it to me. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm honestly asking, what's the edge? Because I couldn't imagine there is one. Like taking a huge, you didn't even say big position, so maybe that's just me filling in the blanks. But taking a position ahead of PPI for what? Like, what's the edge? You know, do you think you're accurate? Do you think you're accurately going to be able to not only predict what PPI shows up as, but also the reaction the market has for it? You know, these reports are, anybody that really pays attention to these reports notices a few things. The first thing is that it's incredibly difficult to predict the reaction the market's going to give, even if you know what the PPI number is going to show up as, right? So why take a position ahead of it? It just doesn't make sense. What I mean is, like, why get in right before and then try to play the volatility? That just doesn't make sense. You know, not unless you're doing options with like a strangle or a straddle. I mean, not unless you're straddling with options. That's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah, it's gambling. How much time do you give after PPI to gauge market reaction? Rest of pre-market past opening bell? It depends. Depends on the time frame of my trades and what I'm doing, but how big the reaction is. If we get like a really big, okay, so an example of this, an example of like a strategy that I could use is that if PPI comes in lower than expected and we get a massive drop, you know, in that situation, I might buy that dip and look to ride a rebound because PPI data came in favorably, but the market overreacted on the opposite side. So I could buy that dip, enter, look to ride a bounce back up. That's an example of the strategy. But it depends on what happens from the report, how big the move is, how reliable looking the trend is. Yeah. Because I'm expecting high PPI, which could result in a sell-off, though speaking about crypto. Yeah, but again, Krav, I'm here to tell you that nobody knows what PPI is going to show up as. And so your biggest mistake is that you're trying to predict what PPI is going to show up as in a serious way. And I don't think it's super predictable unless you're me predicting CPI, which has gotten 5 out of the last 7 exactly right. But again, this is just me kind of joking. I think I got lucky. Can you give your short breakdown of PPI and how it affects markets? I already have. I will again, I guess. But PPI is producer price index. It's wholesale inflation for businesses, how much businesses are paying for wholesale prices, and how that reflects eventually to CPI. And so an increase in PPI signals an increase in prices businesses are paying for goods and services. Higher PPI indicates that the cost of production for goods and services is rising, and eventually that could get passed on to consumers, right? So essentially higher PPI can signal higher inflation problems. It is inflation, but it's business inflation, and it eventually can trickle into consumer prices as well. So it can trickle into consumer inflation as well. So higher typically is bad, lower typically is better. But nothing's 100%. Just be careful. All right, we got 40 minutes. We got about 750 people here live. Stealth, that's you, Sam. Right. I'm reading here. He says, I was kind of meditating listening to this podcast when 2 realizations come to mind. So he's talking about something that happened like a week ago, but I'm kind of reading it now. He said, the guy who was chatting-ish today, I'll paraphrase a recap. You all sat here watching a guy lose 4K. You know, basically we had a guy watching me trade a challenge account, like which wasn't a real account. It was a challenge account trying to get funded on Apex. To which I responded, he lost at most $36. At least check your facts before critiquing. Thus ensued a quite interesting conversation and jokes about facts. So anyways, I just realized boss, referring to me, lost an eval on stream, and a troll says that he's not good. Me and others responded trying to give context. He got more negative and soon got banned. All the while there was an entertaining stream, comments, and likes that obviously helped the algo, including comments said by troll, ultimately accumulating in the boss, which again is me, justifiably and proudly so, making more than the $36 loss as a consequence. Right, exactly. I try to tell the trolls this, they don't seem to get it. But honestly, it gives me something to talk about. You know, outside of that, sometimes I'm quiet, and so I usually am just I'm responding to comments. That's what I do. So I'm responding to comments. If somebody wants to get super negative, usually I'm gonna prove them wrong, make fun of them, and then ban them, and that gives me something to do, right? And I make money doing it. Certainly make money doing it. And so, hey, I guess a good summary. What is the data coming out? Data comes out at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It might be in big letters here, as well as a scroller at the bottom of the screen. Do you set up brokerage accounts for your kids? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we're at the watch store. Carol's looking at watches, and they had a Patek Philippe there. It was like 80 grand. But I'm trying to figure out the best way to start investing with them, as I have two boys, 11 and 12, showing interest. I wish my kids were interested in it. My daughter's 14. She could care less. She's got her own life and stuff right now. That's what it is. You plan on attacking Chop today? I already kind of have. The closer we get to the PPI report, the less likely I am. But again, I'm already up 550 on the day, doing the same thing. Like, here's my gains. Again, what we attacked is choppy behavior. So here's the NASDAQ. What we really saw is this here. So again, just to give you guys the strategy. And again, I like this strategy. It seems to work really well for me. But okay, so the logic is this: ahead of major economic reports like PPI, CPI, FOMC, many times, especially in the hours preceding the report drop, we get sideways, neutral, choppy behavior, right? And I think the edge for this is super freaking high. Like, I think, like, at least with my initial testing with smaller size, and I do think 550 is smaller size. I think that's smaller size. I think I could really, if I really wanted to go super heavy and try to make tens of thousands of dollars, I probably could. But the logic makes sense. The logic is this: I get two major levels. In this case, I use the VWAP, the previous closing price right here. And when we move up to the top of the range, I short. When we move down to the bottom of the range, I buy. Sell the top, buy the bottom. Sell the top, buy the bottom. Ride the bounce back up. Super high edge. Super high edge that this is not going to break down and continue in some volatile way, and that this choppy behavior is just going to play out. And that's what we did. Leading into this report, that's what we attacked. We're already up big. I don't know if I'm going to trade anymore before this report. Maybe. I don't know. I don't really want my kids to day trade, to be completely honest. I don't really want my kids to day trade, to be completely honest. It's just not something, I don't want to start kids gambling at an early age. I'll let them invest in swing trade, but day trading is a different thing, a different story. And Carol and I watched this show about this dude that got so caught up in like an online relationship. I think it was called Control Alt Desire. Yeah, Control Alt Desire, dude. Basically, it's about this guy Grant, who this dude has to be a narcissistic sociopath. He has to be, right? But you can tell he's kind of like a nerdy, kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, like a loserish guy. This dude's just making terrible decisions as well, and like you can tell he just has absolutely no accountability for his decisions. Like this dude, his whole family, his parents worked in the medical industry. And his whole family worked in the medical industry. He was going to have a really good job as like a nurse anesthesiologist, right? He was going to be an anesthesiologist. They found out he was giving his patients propofol at night, unprescribed, just kind of randomly giving it to him at night, you know, without permission, just to make him go to sleep. So his job would be easier. Like, how smart is this guy? This guy's the dumbest guy ever. Like, who in the world is going to think that's a good idea? This guy's decision-making skills are like a 5-year-old. And so then when he gets fired from it, he's got like a twin brother or something like that he resents, right? He resents his twin brother because his twin brother's still doing his thing. He didn't make that dumb decision. This guy ends up falling in love with like a cam girl from, I think, from Bulgaria or something like that. And he like legit falls in love with her. He's just, you know, like, listen, guys, I get it. It might feel good to get attention online. You know, I get it. It might feel good to, like, if you don't have that many options available. The real problem is that people need to lower their standards. Like, I know, like, people, like, the real problem with a lot of guys like this is that they don't lower their standards enough. Like, you're not going to get a 10, you know, if you're some nerdy guy, like, you know, like, you just got to lower your standards. You know, it might feel good to talk to 10s online, but, yeah, that's the real problem, is like they want 10s and they want like the best looking girls available, and they're just out of their league a little bit. And so they just never end up going for anything below that. And then they just never end up being with anybody. And then they're lonely and desperate and weird. And a bunch of bad stuff ended up happening. I think it's on Amazon. Go watch it. You know, it's on Amazon. Super interesting. I could never, though, honestly, like, give some cam girl money? Of course not. You know, like, that's for the desperate. The problem is that even, like, it doesn't matter how good looking you are or anything. If you can learn to just talk, and if you can be funny, humor solves a lot of problems, I think, too. Top 3 worst ladies' men in the world this is coming from, so take this with a grain of salt. But, yeah, it's called Control Alt Desire, I think is what it's called. Control Alt Desire. A bunch of bad stuff ended up happening. Yeah. Just horrible story, to be honest. I feel for all this dudes, all the people that cared about this guy. Yeah, he's just, you know, he tried to be like a Twitch streamer is what he did, and then that didn't work. And, yeah, like, I just feel bad. Like, it looks like it just boils down to bad impulse control. Right, for sure. Like, I don't know, man. I got lucky. Carol's pretty, but she's also not super high maintenance. She's not super needy in that regard. Like, she's very, like, easygoing, laid back, and I think that's necessary, you know. No, it's not a movie. It's not a fictional movie, Rod. It is a documentary, sir. So it's not a fictional movie. It's a documentary. So it's a real story. This is real. This happened, you know. Unfortunately, it happened. Yeah, so again, we're still getting flat, choppy behavior. Look at the NASDAQ. Previous closing price is sitting right here at 19.6 thousand. NVIDIA's flat. Tesla's flat. Most stocks are flat right now. Gold is flat, I'm pretty sure, as well. Where's gold at? Gold at 23.20. Nvidia's a monster. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia broke lifetime highs this morning again at 128.30s. You know, we still have it. Once it opens up, it should break the previous lifetime highs, which is right around 126s. It doesn't actually register until the opening bell hits, but it's close to lifetime highs, basically. Higher means higher PPI inflation data. Yeah, I think lowliness can drive people to do a lot of different things, unfortunately. Like most of the time, the flaws come from people just being unwilling to put themselves out there. And so they just kind of stay in their bubble at home, never leave. And then maybe sometimes they get too involved with the internet and they just kind of turn into like really weird, obsessive, like toxic, evil people, I think sometimes. You know. Well, I mean, yeah, on Apex, there's a rule you can't just take big size ahead of this report and try to ride the volatility. Like, you can trade, but it has to be your own strategies, your own patterns. So, yeah, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is off, unfortunately. Bummer, man. I mean, not a bummer, I guess. Probably for the best, dude, realistically. Because Jake Paul was about to win, of course. Everybody knows this. Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it goes. All right, guys, we got time. We got time. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, just please don't spam, guys. Yeah. Not the mic we asked for, but the one we wanted. I think it's gonna be a better fight than Tyson versus Jake. I think Perry's look again. Ever since we said this, look at the choppy behavior still happening here, guys. Look, still up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, sideways, neutral, rectangular, choppy behavior. Exactly like we said we would probably get. So, hey, we're also gonna throw this in sub-only mode. So if you have not already, hit the subscribe button, guys. We are now in sub-only mode. So help support the channel here. Expectations are 0.1%, 0.2% core month to month. Just took a trade using your strategy, grabbed 31 points. Yeah, I don't really want people to copy me, but hey, I appreciate the love, I guess. Understand. If you want to check out, look, I do these a lot with funded account programs. And so if you can wait and be really patient in funded account programs, they can be powerful. Understand I do trade off stream. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. Understand CFTC 4.41 hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations in these funded account programs. All that stuff. They are a sponsor of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased. But if you want to try this at a funded account program right now, the 250K challenge, which if you pass it, Apex gives you a demo. If you pass it, you get funded with 250K with a 90% split on the 250K challenge. And if you lose, you're out like $50. So again, if you want that full discount for only $48 roughly after tax, use my coupon code BT. We'll get you the max discount. Also, $35 resets going on right now. There's the link. Check it out. And yeah, I think the edge is powerful. It's gonna be mixed today, but tech should do well. Maybe. Nice to hear someone as a white belt as early as you talking about working and changing their game. Yeah, I mean, again, my coach yesterday told me, or it was the day before yesterday. He said that like it was, I don't know. He said that I was gonna have a big rise, but if I didn't change my game, that I was gonna have a big fall in jiu-jitsu because he said that I was too reliant on front headlocks and guillotines and darces and stuff like that. Mostly guillotines is what I do well in. Because I do have a solid guillotine, I think, but I get too tunnel vision with it. And so if somebody knows how to defend against it, you know, I tire myself out trying to go for the sub. And basically what he said was that I can't try to win every roll. Like rolling at the gym is not always meant to win. And he said he said that he was a lot like that, but he also said that you have to put yourself in different spots, learn. And he said that he knows why I'm doing it. And he said I'm doing it because it works, right? And I can tap higher belts with it, and that, you know. And so, of course, if I could tap higher belts with a submission, I'm going to keep going for that submission. That's my A-game submission. But he said I need to branch off a little bit. So, yeah. I know. I think I certainly need to do that. If it's a white belt, though, it depends on who I'm rolling against. If I'm rolling against like a blue or purple belt, usually I'm going to try to submit them any way I can because I'm rolling with the higher belt. If I'm rolling with a white belt, you know, I do well against most of the white belts at my school. Most of them. There's a couple that beat me. But usually I'll like pull guard and work on a different game. It just depends on who I'm rolling against. Top 3 worst white belts in the world right now, though, is what I am. Anyways. Yeah, I like the Marcellatine too, digital. Marcellatines are fun. Kind of guillotine where you're putting the elbow up, you know. I learned right afterwards he taught me the 10-finger guillotine, which is like this, or I think it's like this, you know, from standing. That was interesting. You will really know how good that technique is when you fight harder people. Well, I mean, listen, I'm not even trying to brag. Again, I'm a white belt, right? And so I'm sure some of what I'm about to say, they were just testing me. But I've tapped black belts with it. I've tapped brown belts, purple belts, blue belts with my guillotine. And so, yeah, I think my guillotine's high level. But I everywhere else, like, I'm too tunnel vision with it. And the way I describe it, like, I'm good at takedowns and takedown defense. It's hard to take me down, and I can usually take people down fairly easily. But if somebody gets on top of me, it's a different story, and I'm very weak. Like, if somebody gets on top, I have a very, like, I can hold guard, but I usually, if they're a higher belt, they're going to pass my guard and tap me out if they get on top. Like, I'm very weak outside of that. And that's something I have to be honest about. Like, I'm not that great if, from bottom position, I'm not that great. Anyways, NASDAQ back up. Still choppy range. Again, we got to just wait for PPI drops in about 18 minutes. This is toss, Simon. This is thinkorswim. I'm trying to move on from jiu-jitsu. I'm talking about it too much, you know. Sounds like he doesn't like getting into your front headlocks. Well, what started this was I was rolling with him, and my coach, and he wanted to roll with me, and he tapped me out a couple times, but then I caught him in a guillotine, and I followed him into mount, and then I followed him again when he tried to roll out of that, and then the bell rang. And he even said, like, again, to be fair, he let me get into that position. Like, he gave me the front headlock position. So, like, I can't really brag about it because he let me get in the front headlock position. He could tap me out a million times if he wanted to. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right, Tesla at 188.60s. Tesla's still holding the volume weighted average price. Again, we'll see if it holds. Yeah, I'm sure I'm a little bit too reliant on it for sure, 100%. I don't know. There's other positions like I like getting mount, doing gift wrap, riding it to their back, and rear naked choking people. Like that's been the other sequence I've been using where mount, gift wrap, back take, rear naked choke. And that's a very common sequence that works really well. That's like the other sequence I've been working a lot on. But anyways, again, I'm going to move back to stocks. I'll talk about jiu-jitsu all day here. Center chart is the NASDAQ finally breaking out of that sideways trend. Been in it all freaking morning, basically. Tesla's still over the volume weighted average price. Nvidia at 128. Yeah, so here's Nvidia. We got to watch Nvidia as well. The other one that dragged the market up is Apple. Apple got up to 220s yesterday and then faded all the way back down. Still well over 200, still very green over the last few days. But yeah, Apple with a huge gain at 213s. NASDAQ finally ripping up. Nvidia up to 128s. The Elon Musk pay package was approved. The $56 billion pay package was approved. So yeah, Apple went crazy. It's one of the reasons the market's up. I mean, CPI definitely helped everything. CPI inflation data did come out better than expected. I like your jiu-jitsu talk. It's like chess, except not just the mind. Yeah, it is like chess. That's the first thing you realize in jiu-jitsu is that it's not just about strength and speed. It's like a chess game. You know, it's how fast you can think, how fast you can switch techniques, like a bunch of good stuff. That's what's fun about it. I always liked chess, too. Originally, I was a poker player, which got me involved in the stock market because poker is very similar to trading and investing. Risk-reward calculation with pot odd calculation, odds. You know, there's a lot of, you know, EV scenarios. Variance is very similar in trading. Like in poker, you might do everything right. You might have kings and lose to 2-3. You know, just like in trading, you might have a really nice setup that works most of the time, but for whatever reason, you just fail at that setup. Even though you did everything right. Same thing with poker. You can do everything right and still lose. Very similar. Both have variance. And I think variance is the hardest thing for people to understand about trading. You know, it's one of the reasons, you know, if you want to know the biggest reason that you can't make $5,000 a day on a $20,000 account is because of variance. You know, variance is going to mean that you might do everything right and still lose. And so in poker, the easiest way to put it, as well as like card counting situations, like regardless of which way you're looking at it, you're going to have a large sample size for your edge to truly play out. You know, for your edge to truly play out, you're going to have a large sample size. A big bankroll as well, if you want to protect your account. It's one of the reasons, like, you can't just bet 25% of your account or more and look to make that much regularly. Why? Because variance is there. You might do everything right and still lose. And if you think that you're not going to lose, if you think that you might not take the right strategies 4 times, 5 times in a row and just have bad luck one specific day and lose every time, you're wrong. that variance does show up. It does happen. And so if you do not limit your size, trade a small percentage of your account, your whole account's going to go bye-bye if you try to make too much short term. And that's the reason a lot of traders lose, is because they're simply trading way too large of a percentage of their account. And they end up having a bad string of variance and losing money and losing their account. Their whole account goes. And so it's important for people to understand that truth. It's one of the reasons, like, if you hear somebody advertising to you, like, you can take $1,000 and turn it into $20K in a couple months, or take $5,000 and turn it into $100K in a couple months. If you just buy their mentorship program or course, it is total and complete nonsense. Run away from them. They are trying to talk you into buying a nonsense course. Be smart. Don't be susceptible to that. Like, be resilient to that behavior. You shouldn't like to be manipulated, I guess, is the way I always describe it. I don't like to be manipulated. And so, what's up, Paul? Please stop spamming the same thing over and over again. I'm going to start banning people if they start spamming the same thing. Playing poker, weird. Some of us have a similar trajectory. Yeah, I've heard a couple people be like, hey, bro, we live the same life. You know, because I went from skateboarding to preppy, kind of, you know, or mid 2000s, to poker, to the stock market, you know, and a lot of people are like that. I think a lot of people have had the same trajectory, which is interesting. They need a plan strategy with a detailed plan. Not just that, like, you can have the best plan ever, but if you're trading too large of your account, it doesn't matter. You're gonna get bad strings of variance, and so the smaller account you play with and try to roll it into something large, the less likely you are to do so. Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the donation, man. Thanks so much. How does core PPI and these unemployment claims tie into NASDAQ and S&P this morning? They're up a lot. You know, what you got to look at is extension. So there's a lot of extension on equities right now. So CPI came out yesterday lower than expected CPI, and because of that, a lot of things and inequities are extended on the upside now. So a lot of equities are extended high now. And so, yeah. Chess or magic led to poker. Poker led to stonks. I think a lot of us have that story. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I think chess leads to math skills in a way. Like, and you might not understand the correlation there, but like, a lot of people in, like, STEM club and stuff like that play chess, and so that starts you early, and then you say, how can I monetize math skills and quick thinking, and you go to poker, and then you play poker for a little while, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I scale this larger? And then you go to the stock market, you know, and then you say, okay, how do I scale this larger? And then you go to whatever sector of the stock market you like. Personally, for me, I ended up creating this YouTube channel and scaled that up, but everybody's different a little bit, but interesting. Yeah, I mean, the problem, Shar, is that a lot of the content sold in some of these old courses are not relevant anymore. You know, like, listen, the market 15 years ago, 20 years ago, was wildly different than the market today. You know, a lot of those guys used to make money buying pump and dump newsletters. So they would sign up to a lot of these newsletters that would pump up these low float penny stocks. And they would get the news early, and they would buy it, and they would ride the pump, and then they would sell it, right? And that's what they used to do a lot. That loophole closed. It's not really profitable to do that anymore. And so the market's wildly different today than it was 20 years ago. And so some of those really old courses are completely obsolete now. You know, so some of those gurus promoting themselves on money they made 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago even, and acting like the strategies translate today, is not accurate. You know, it's why a lot of them are saying, hey, I don't even trade anymore. I just like to teach. Of course you do, because the strategies you're using don't work anymore. But I digress. I'm not talking about anybody specifically here. Of course, I'm not talking about anybody specifically here. I haven't necessarily seen those courses or content. I'm not talking about those guys that you mentioned, Shar. I'm just being neutral here, not talking about anybody specifically. Yeah, I did see the thing about bricks. I don't know, man. We'll see. I don't understand. I trade using 100% of my account, but I put a stop loss, so what's wrong with using 100%? You can use 100% of your account if you want. You just have to have good risk levels. You know, so if you're risking 25% of your account per trade as an example. Okay, here's an example. Usually this is relevant. Look, we got 6 minutes left, 7 minutes. But I'll give you a quick example. All right, so say you got a $5,000 account. Okay, so you got a 5K account. And say in each individual trade, let's say you're risking 20% of that account. So you're risking $1,000 a trade, right? 20% of your account per trade. You're risking $1,000 a trade, right? You might think, hey, well, I'm not going to lose 5 times in a row with good strategy. I'm here to tell you it does happen. And when you do, your whole account's going to be gone. It's going to be gone, right? You could use this with a $20,000 account, you know, and do the same thing. You could risk $4,000 per account, you know, 20%. And, you know, you might think you're not going to lose 4 or 5 times in a row with a good strategy. I'm here to tell you variance like that can and does happen. It's not avoidable. You're going to have bad strings of variance. And so this is one of the reasons, like, you're not going to be able to take a tiny account and roll it into something very large consistently. It's just not. Again, if you can make that type of ridiculous percentage gains consistently, Goldman Sachs will buy your system for $1 billion. If you can consistently make hundreds of % a year in anything, they will buy that system for $1 billion. You know why you don't have a lot of billionaire YouTubers? It's because they're all full of crap. Anyways, we got 5 minutes, chat. 5 minutes. Apple is rising up a little bit. NASDAQ's rising up. NVIDIA's rising up heading into this report. We got PPI data that's expected at 0.1% month to month, 0.2% core month to month. Yeah, it's at beginner trades. Celsius? Is Celsius down? Wow. Yeah, dude. So this is really interesting. You know, I'm not going to say I told you so. People asked me a couple days ago, like a week or two ago, what about Celsius? Do you guys remember what I said? I said, look, I'm not buying this thing. It's up over 100% on the year. It's less likely that it's going to hold, and I'm not buying it. I might buy it now, though, to be honest. But again, I'm not surprised to see Celsius drop 40%, basically. It's down 40% over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Over the last 15 trading days, it's down essentially 40%. It's a big drop. All right, guys, we got 4 minutes. 4 minutes left. I think we have to roll futures over. Again, hit the subscribe button, chat. Hit the notification bell. Be ready. PPI inflation data drops soon. Oh, we also have jobless claims today. I completely forgot about jobless claims. We got PPI inflation and jobless claims unemployment filings today. Guys, I completely forgot about jobless claims. Expectations for jobless claims are 225,000. 225,000. So jobless claims are how many people are filing for unemployment week to week. That drops this morning as well. Again, jobless claims expected at 225. PPI is expected at 0.1%, 2.5% of the year. Again, I'm going to go with as expected as my guess. I'm going to think we're going to come in as expected. So I'm going to think we're going to come in at 0.1%. I might be wrong. Straight up guess, though. Y'all be careful. We got 3 minutes left, roughly. Guys, 3 minutes. Yes, it's only for futures and contracts. Correct, yes. All right, guys. Also, get a big discount on... All right, guys. We got a minute and a half left. Here. All right, we got about 2,000 people. Yeah, you can't. I mean, there are restrictions for trading news. Tesla's starting to break highs of the day. It's at 189.90 here. 189.90. All right, guys, less than a minute here. Less than a minute. We got about 2,200 people here live. We'll see what jobless claims numbers show up as. Here, I'm going to put, we got NVIDIA. I'm going to put gold. I'm going to put the Dixie up. Again, guys, hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream here, chat. Do it now. Tesla at 190 roughly here. Apple up to 214s. All right, 15 seconds here, guys. 15 seconds. We got the NASDAQ in the middle, gold on the right, the dollar index on the left. Here we go. All right, here we go. And there's the report. PPI showed up at minus 0.2%. Minus 0.2% for PPI. Jobless claims showed up higher than expected. All of these things are signaling less economic growth and better inflation pressures here, chat. Dollar index is dumping down. Gold is ripping up. The NASDAQ is ripping up again. Jobless claims 242. PPI showed up at minus 0.2% versus 0.1% expected. Better than expected. Much lower than expected for PPI. This is great news. This signals more likelihood of a cut as well, in all honesty. Gold's ripping up. Dollar index is falling down. Again, minus 0.2% for PPI. Minus 0.2%. Interesting. On the year, we showed up at 2.3%. Chad, 2.3%. Jobless claims, again, showed up higher than expected. Jobless claims showed up at 242 versus 225 expected. Interesting. Here's the report. Again, minus 0.2%. NASDAQ, gold, dollar index falling. The SPY moving up. Interesting. Better than expected inflation data all around this time. So again, we are getting better than expected inflation data today, guys. Wow. Tesla flying up. NVIDIA moving up. Gold ripping up. Again, here's Tesla. Got up to 191s. Apple bouncing back up as well. Interesting, guys. Listen, we got higher than expected or lower than expected inflation data. Yeah, I think this is going to signal a bigger likelihood of a cut. So let's take a look at the probabilities here for the CME Watch tool. Again, greater probability of a cut, in my opinion. Yeah. So now for July, 8% of people are expecting a 25 basis point cut. September, 60% of people are expecting a cut. November, 50+% of people are expecting a cut, but 75+% of people are expecting a large cut, or a cut at least of some sort. December as well. So rate cut expectations have gone up for sure on this report, I would say. Yeah, I would say rate cut expectations are up a bunch. Again, if you haven't already, guys, check out my sponsors. One of them is TopStep. TopStep is a funded account program in futures where they give you a demo, they test your skill. TopStep is a great way to learn how to day trade. They give you a demo, they test your skill with the demo account. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you between, I think TopStep funds you between $50K up to $300K with a 90% split. Great way to learn how to day trade, one of the most legit ones in the world. I'll post that link here if you want to check out TopStep's funded account program and get a big discount there. You can also check out Apex, which is one of the other affiliates that I have. Again, I'm biased in both of their favors because they pay me money. understand hypothetical or simulated performance of CFTC 4.41. Results have limitations, unlike actual performance. They do not represent actual trading in these funded account programs. Understand that. They pay me money. I'm biased, of course. But you can also check out Apex. Apex is another one of my affiliates. And Apex gives you a demo, and they test your skill with a demo account first, just like the other one. Again, you can kind of see Apex right now. There's packages from 25K, which is only about 40 bucks a month, roughly. I think it's roughly the same, where they give you a demo. If you can hit 1,500 in profit on a 25K demo without losing 1,500 first and following their rules, they fund you 25K with a 90% split. You get real-time data included on these as well, which is a $55 value. So even look at just data, like just data with paper accounts, it's a good value. I think you can get the 250K challenge for the time being right now for the same price as the 25K one. I think this one, if you use my link and coupon code BT in Apex, you get the 250K challenge, for like 48 bucks or something like that after tax. I think it's like 48 bucks, under $50. And so again, they're going to give you a 250K demo with this. If you can make this much without losing this much, about a 2-to-1 ratio, reasonable. They fund you 250K with a 90% split, and Apex pays out millions of dollars. They paid out almost $200 million to their traders in withdrawals. They fund thousands of traders. So does Top Step. It's just a great way to learn day trading. Limited risk. If you lose, in this case, you're out 50 bucks. It's not the end of the world, but if you're good enough to pass it, you're still similar to putting the money up yourself. It's still getting 90%, and so it's the best of both worlds. Limited risk, 90% split once you're funded. Great way to test your skill. Most day traders lose, and so it makes a lot more sense to try this out instead of risking thousands of dollars of your own money. And so again, if you want to check it out, here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. Use coupon code BT. We'll get you the max discount. I don't know. I think after this data, a cut is more likely coming this year. I think September is my guess when we're going to get a cut. But I could be wrong, but I think September makes sense. Again, I could be wrong. Certainly could be. Not 100%. Gold is treating me well also today. So is Nvidia, of course. Shopify, very green. SoFi, we're green as well. Target, we're still green. Tesla, we're very green. Yes, the data dropped. It might be in big, bold letters right underneath me here. In big, bold letters. It could be. Might be. I'm not saying it is. But it's possible it is, guys. In big letters. Just a weatherman it really quick. Right here. Look at this. In this general area. You know. Right there. Aquí. Mi amigo. Yeah, well, they're not. There's rules you have to follow. They're not always going to accept any payout. No company is. Like, you got to follow their rules. Aquí, mi amigo. John, you're vacillating? I mean, in what way? Don't understand what it's saying. It's saying inflation data came in lower than expected. It's one of the reasons the market gold ripped up. You can kind of see Apple rip up. So essentially what it's saying is inflation data came in better than expected. That's what yesterday's data showed up as well. Oh, I do love, dude. I'm in Texas. Tex-Mex, my favorite food ever, bro. Give me some birria tacos, bro. I know I'm not saying it right. I gotta roll the R's. Birria. I can't do it. Birria. I can't do it. I never can roll my R's. I wish I could. Birria tacos, great tacos. You know. Gold breaking highs of the day here. We are getting a pretty big dip in the NASDAQ, though, back down. Yeah, love birria tacos. A week ago, you were thinking no price cuts. No, I'm not saying we should cut rates. What I'm saying is based off of this economic data, higher jobless claims, lower inflation data universally, CPI, PPI, and no rate cut this past meeting. I think the Fed is more likely to cut rates in September plus. I don't think we should cut rates next month for sure in July. I don't think that should happen. I think we should cut rates. I don't think we should cut rates anytime soon. But I think lower inflation data and less economic growth signals a higher likelihood of rate cuts, right? This is not my personal wants. This is not what I'm saying is going to happen. This is probabilities. Rate cut odds increase as inflation comes in lower and jobs are weaker, right? That increases the likelihood of rate cuts. Because again, you got to understand, yesterday, Powell's getting pressure to cut rates. You can see most of the people with the big corporations that asked him questions in the press conference, what did they say? They said, hey, why aren't we cutting rates? He's getting pressure to cut rates for sure. And so, I think it's more likely that we cut rates earlier now, but it's still not probable necessarily. Yeah, I would say it's good news. This is good news. Lower inflation data typically is good. But again, we're kind of retracing back down. We're up so much, though. I think the extension is relevant here. Top 3 best Spanish fluent speakers. I'm definitely not. My father speaks fluent Spanish. He's like a, he does he travels to, My dad speaks fluent Spanish. I know a little bit. How is this not good for a pump? Because it's never definitive reactions. It's not that easy. This is why I always tell people not to take huge sides ahead of these reports, is because it's never super predictable. Yeah. How can I learn your English? I'm not a good teacher there, brother. Yeah. Aprendo español en mi escuela. Yo sé es escuela, no sé. ¿Cómo se dice school en español? Banks are unstable. Where's Banks? Let me see. JP Morgan at 192s. Is it escuela? Okay. Y'all say. All right. Aprendes? Is it aprendes? I would say, since it was me saying it, I thought it would be yo aprendo en mi escuela. But maybe it's past tense, and so maybe it's yo aprendes en mi escuela. That's possible. Okay, yeah. Gotcha, pawn. Yeah. Again, like I said, I don't know that much Spanish. I can speak basic Spanish, but not a lot.
I don't like Celsius as a company.
Right, here's 3 days ago. Guys, listen to this chat. This is me 3 days ago.
I don't like Celsius as a company.
I like them as a company. I think they're successful, and I think they've gotten really big over the last year. But I think there's also tons of risks and extension on Celsius personally. You know, if you look at Celsius's chart, again, I'm not telling you what to do. I have no idea what you should do. Do not copy me. This is just my own subjective bias. You know, don't copy me. Yeah, see? That was 3 days ago. Celsius has dropped like over 10%, like for sure since then. I think it's closer to 20%. Celsius has dropped, I think it's like 17% if the math in my head is right, in the last 3 days. So, yeah. Yeah, yo aprendo would be I am currently learning. Past tense is what we're referring to because I'm not currently learning in school. I'm not in school. So we would be referring to past tense. The past tense form of I am learning or I learned is what we would be trying to say. But yeah. It's just up so much. Again, Celsius here, team. This is the reason I'm saying this is because, look, somebody asked me, and I see Celsius everywhere now. But again, here's a yearly chart. Prior to this, Celsius was still up over 100%. Like, Celsius, it's just up way too much. You know, that's just way too high. Like, having a stock that more than doubles in a year. You know, if anybody remembers Bang Energy Drinks, right? Bang Energy Drinks, thriving company. They are no longer around anymore. They got sued, right? They got sued because they told people that they had creatine. It was super creatine on the bottle, and they had no creatine in them. And so people were drinking them thinking creatine was in them. And this includes me. I remember drinking, thinking I was getting my normal creatine dose, drinking Bang Energy, but then they didn't have creatine. So misrepresentation. And they got sued for millions and millions of dollars and lost. And now Bang Energy is no more. And so I think these energy companies are susceptible to this type of stuff. But I also think that Celsius has been around longer. They're better with marketing. The problem with these is they've just got so much caffeine in them. Like, so much caffeine in them. My daughter was drinking these for a while thinking they were healthy, and I had to tell her, like, look, this thing's got hundreds of milligrams of caffeine in it. Just so much caffeine. Yeah, maybe y'all are right. Again, I don't know. Past tense will be yo aprendí español en mi escuela. Okay, gotcha. Now I know. Market's still digesting the data. Honestly, it's starting to turn a little bit. Gold's coming back down. The SPY's dropping here. So we're at 453s. We're kind of flat. We're completely neutral. It's not a shock. Again, the market's up so much over the last week or so, breaking lifetime highs in a lot of different companies, and big index funds are also breaking lifetime highs. It's not a shock that we're not just moving up, even though I would argue this inflation data is very positive. So again, it's not a shock to see the market not ripping up, breaking highs again. I think it's up a lot short term, and you just got to be careful. Hard to argue with PPI jobless claims, maybe. Yeah. Is that data saying jobless claims were higher than expected by 17,000? Yes, correct. Jobless claims were higher than expected by 17K. What this signals is more people filing for unemployment. And you might originally hear that and think, oh, that's bad, right? And conventionally, that's true. But right now, the Fed's trying to push the economy down to decrease inflation. And so in that regard, it's not a terrible thing. For the Fed, right? I'm not saying the Fed wants people to be out of work, but the whole reason the Fed's keeping interest rates as high as they have been is to discourage the economy, to push the economy back down and discourage inflation. Less people that spend, prices typically can slow down. And so that's the logic of it. And so you might think higher jobless claims is bad. I'm here to tell you both of these things in an inflation-fearing market can be interpreted as positive. In an inflation-fearing market, if the market fears inflation, both of these signals less economic growth. Higher jobless claims, less economic growth, less people working. Lower PPI, lower producer prices, lower wholesale prices. So both of these things signal less inflation problems. So maybe not less economic growth. Both of these things signal less inflation problems. Monster energy drinks. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's really interesting. So, I'm not the most religious guy, but there was one time my wife and I were studying for finals in school when we were in college, right? So we're studying for finals, and my dad used to always tell me this thing, right? When I was growing up, my dad used to always tell me this thing, and he would say, "Don't ask God for proof." Because the proof might come, and you hear, I think Logan Paul's guy, George Janko, saying the same thing. Again, I'm not super religious. I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just telling you something my dad used to tell me, right? And something my dad used to tell me was never ask God for proof. Because the proof he gives you, you might not like it. It might not be the best proof, right? You might not actually like the way he presents it. And so Carol and I are sitting there. She's chugging energy drinks. I was never drinking much energy drinks. But Carol, we were studying for finals. It was like 1 a.m. We're studying for a final we have like that week or whatever. And I told Carol this. I remember telling Carol this. We were kind of sitting there BSing. She's drinking energy drinks. I remember telling Carol this. And Carol, in hindsight, said that she did exactly that, right? She did exactly what, my dad always said don't do. And then within a couple hours, Carol spikes like 104 fever. Like 104 fever, has to call an ambulance, gets sent to the hospital, like driven in an ambulance. I rode with her, super bumpy. Carol's Carol was in bad shape. She had a kidney infection apparently that made her fever spike up to like 104, 105. She spent like a week in the hospital, and then afterwards she sat there and told me, and again, I'm not the most religious guy. I'm not here to try to, do any of that stuff, but the whole thing was strange. The whole thing was very weird in hindsight. Looking at it, it was weird, It's one of those stories where we tell our kids like, hey, this was weird. So yeah. Again, I'm not being religious. I'm telling you something my dad used to tell me, and this weird coincidence, I guess, is what you would call it, afterwards. Apple sitting down at the 200 EMA, the VWAP level. If interest rates will be reduced within the next 6 months, I think dividend-paying stocks will go up as money market rates will drop, and maybe. I think they're definitely going to be slowing quantitative tightening down, and that's a dovish thing. That means they're potentially going to lower interest rates. Carol's my wife. Yeah, energy drinks are bad. Again, that's the original point, was that energy drinks are freaking horrible for you. I don't drink them at all. I never have drank them. The closest I would come was drinking. I don't even drink Coca-Cola really anymore. I will drink stevia cola, which is like a healthier form of, like, look, you got one right here. I will drink stevia cola. Zevia cola is what it's called. So I'll drink those, but I'm not drinking energy drinks because of that specific thing. How to trade news to minimize slippage. I don't trade news. I react to it sometimes, but I don't get in around or before those releases. I will get in
the same day, but I'm not going to hold anything within like 10 or 15 minutes of that report, as well as for like a minute at least afterwards. Sometimes I'll try to piggyback off of the reaction that we get to the news, but taking a big gambling position ahead of it and trying to ride the move, the volatility of it is something that I just don't do. It's too risky.
Yeah, Apple. Apple's still green. What did Apple drop so fast yesterday on? So I can see Apple was up at 220s here. Why did it drop this much? What did Apple drop this much on? So there's a big pullback in Apple. Does anybody know the reason for this?
I know their conference isn't still going on.
Yeah, I wasn't really trying to start a religious argument.
Yeah, I'm not the most religious guy, and I try to keep religion and politics out of this. I just thought I was more so talking about how bad energy drinks can be for you. And so, yeah, let's please refrain from, like, y'all can talk about it. If it gets too divisive, I'm going to put both of y'all or whomever it is in timeout, you know. So, again, just be respectful, I guess is the point. I'm guessing Apple is down because they were forced to admit that their AI research is, yeah, maybe. ChatGPT can be downloaded as an app and they want to have all their buy new phones. Yeah, I mean, I already have GPT. Jobless claims is already out. It came in at 242,000. I don't get that people liked Apple's conference that much. Nothing special. Well, AI implications, I think, for Apple. It depends on which ones. Yeah. Yeah, I think that as well. The AI calculator feature for Apple, which basically, if you don't understand what the AI calculator feature it is, you can literally write formulas and equations on Apple's calculator using AI. I can go like this. And then Apple will answer it using AI. So I can write, like, you know, complicated equations and all that stuff using AI, and AI will answer it using Apple's calculator. I think that's a really cool feature. We have PPI inflation data on screen. PPI came in at 0.2% down, so prices actually literally went down month to month for PPI wholesale prices, which is good. They expected a 0.1% rise. They ended up showing a 0.2% drop. Jobless claims showed up higher than expected, though. So jobless claims did show up high. So, yeah. Yeah, but every time Powell speaks, the market doesn't go down. Powell spoke yesterday, the market flew, you know. So I don't necessarily think Powell always, that's just a myth. I think people watch one Powell speech, and then see it crash. Again, I blame, there's a lot of big YouTubers that tell people every major FOMC meeting, every major CPI report that the market's going to crash, and then it doesn't. And so what they end up calling a crash is this. Like, the market might move up like this, and they're like, the market's going to crash right here. Or let me do it. So they say the market's going to crash right here. And the market goes like this, and then does this. And they say, see, I told you, the market's going to crash. It's like, no, you called the crash back here. This isn't even a crash. This is just a correction after a huge rip. We're still net green versus when you said that. So that's, but again, you got some YouTubers at every major one, they're telling people the market's going to crash. It gets old. Where's GameStop? Did GameStop react? Yeah, GameStop is up a little bit. I don't know if it's going to continue or not. For Tesla, Daniel? Oh, Tesla shareholder meeting is today. Interesting. It did crash, though, 1% after going up 10. Yeah. Well, rip is a very subjective term. Crash is not, right? So rip, people can call it a rip or whatever, and that is a very subjective term. You know, it's all relative to how far you're zooming in. Crash is different. Crash usually refers to a 20% drop in markets. Anywhere between like 15 and 25 plus is considered a crash. A short term. A correction is a longer term drop in the same way. This could be a correction. This could be a crash, right? So there's differences. Now, I'm from Louisiana. Tesla right at the volume weighted average price, though. Let's see if it holds. Here's Tesla. Gold is slash GC. Yeah, my thinkorswim seems to be running fine. Yeah, I don't think there's any issues necessarily. Yeah, I don't think Schwab is down either. Do you ever gamble on options? No, honestly, it doesn't make sense for me to. Again, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but like my account's large enough to where I don't really need to yeah, I don't really need to restrict myself through share purchases, you know. So I just don't need to. I don't need to trade options and have time decay and all these weird conditions in order to be profitable. I would rather just buy shares and be able to buy and sell whenever I want without it impacting my profit, you know, if that makes sense. So I think options are mostly meant for small accounts.
Yeah, it is an election year, so you just got to be smart, guys. Also, if you haven't already, check out one of my other sponsors, a company called Chart Prime. It's a trading view service. You can use it in stocks, crypto, forex, futures, anything with a symbol on trading view, you can use it. Now, nothing's going to work 100% of the time, but I love using the market oracle, the market dynamics. Again, we can even use today's signals alone. So here's today's, and I'm going to preface this with, look, I can't guarantee you're going to make money. Nobody can. They're a sponsor. I'm biased. But it looks like most of these worked. Like, look. Strong buy signal showed up right here. Look at the huge follow through you get. Look at the strong signals. Those are the most impressive. Strong signal showed up here. Boom. Follow through. Sell signal showed up way back here. Drop. This one maybe worked, maybe didn't work. But again, like, you can kind of see the big bullish trend we got prior to this. Yeah, so look at the strong buy signal here, follow through. So out of the last 5 signals, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them maybe didn't work. Maybe. This one could have been worked. And so again, that's 80% over the last 5. Great way. You can use this with anything with a symbol. I can put up Apple here, and it'll do the same thing for Apple. Anything with a symbol on TradingView, I can use it on. And again, look at the sell signals. Look at the last 4 on Apple as well. You can see the falling wedge. But again, look at the last 4 on Apple. Sell signal here. Follow through your eye. This is a 5-minute chart, so this is hours of red action. Buy signal here, nice little bounce. Strong sell signal there, you got a nice little follow through. Buy signal here, you got a nice little bounce. And so again, 4 for 4 for Apple. It's like $40 a month. Find what's working and then attack it. I can't guarantee you're gonna make money. I can't guarantee any of these worked or didn't work. They are a sponsor of mine. I'm biased, but I think it's just, I was always skeptical of companies like this until I tested them out myself. And then I was kind of impressed by it. But again, I'm biased because they're a sponsor of mine. If you want to check it out, here's the link. You can get 40% off. Check it out. Yeah, you could use it on crypto. I haven't really tried it on crypto too much, though. All right, guys, we got 25 minutes left. Do we have anything tomorrow? I don't think we do. We got import-export prices, Michigan consumer sentiment, and some Fed members. Next week, we got retail sales, bunch of Fed members, jobless claims, housing starts, Philly Fed Index, Flash, PMI. What about the week after? I thought we had Powell speaking sometime soon. When does Powell do his monetary policy report to Congress? CB Consumer Confidence, Case Shiller. Let me ask AI here. All right, so I'm pretty sure it's all time, G, but I would check with them. Yes, it's a monthly subscription. All right, so the 20th, we got Powell speaking for the semi-annual monetary policy report to Congress. So next week. Okay, good. So we do have something going on next week. That's good. It's the 20th.
I think it's the semi-annual monetary policy report. Okay, yeah, so this is next Friday, June 21st. Okay, so he speaks with the House on the 20th, the Senate on the 21st. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, busy next week. All right, so Powell speaks again on the 25th of June, Stanford Graduate School of Business. So a lot of Powell speeches this month. That's good. Yeah, Yellen. I mean,
All right, so Tesla at 189s here, gold at 230, 223.35s. Tesla right at the VWAP level. We got 20 minutes until the market opens. All right, market is slowed. Gold is flat. Let me catch back up with the chat. I'm trying to sit here and talk, but it's kind of boring right now. There's several traders in this community that are both able and willing to give free advice. One of the main reasons why I come back every day. I'm one of the top 3 worst advice givers in the world right now. Taking advantage of all the amazing opportunities. Yeah, it's kind of slow. To be fair, I don't, because I choose not to play the market after that, but now I'm learning again. Yeah, it takes time. You just got to slow it down. Why do you believe options are mainly for small accounts? I don't necessarily. I know I said that, but I know some big accounts play options, right? Mostly for shorter term trading. I think there's so many restrictions. I think also because you could probably find some good deals and options relative to just kind of the binary nature of stocks. I think there's probably good deals and options that you could find. For me though, I need to be loose with my trades. I need to be loose with the time frame I'm holding them. I like to be loose with how I trade them and you know, all that stuff. And I just think options restricts me too much. And so the only way I would trade options is if I had a small account and I needed to trade options outside of shares. If it was too expensive for me to buy shares, I'd buy options. But I know that's not everybody. Hey, thanks, Y. Break out the pythons, bro. Big Green Day.
Texas Roadhouse. I don't know enough about that company, or I don't eat there that much. So. Option change tells a story. Yeah, for sure. Buy the first dip, get the second for free. So I should buy some Apple right now or what? I have no idea what you should do. Apple's up a lot. Tesla is starting to break that 190 level. It's kind of the top of the range. But yeah, Apple's up a lot. It's not really time for me to buy it. Have you seen the PE on Kava? I was researching them, but dang, is it high? I don't even know what Kava does, to be completely honest. CAVA. I know it's Cassava Sciences or something like that, right? Or no, Kava Group. Yeah, I don't know anything about this company. So I'm not going to buy it regardless of the PE ratio. But you're saying it's high. Again, I just don't know this company. It's up a lot, in October of last year. So in less than a year, it's up 200%. So, yeah, I'm not buying it. All right, so Tesla at 190, SPY still very low liquidity. Back up to 550 or 543, though. It's interesting because we did have PPI. Bets be sure you can take any days off you want. You're your own boss. I'm up 68,000 on Apple. Do you like big cap oil on this pullback? Kind of. But it's not quite large enough of a dip for me. It's not bad. On a yearly basis, it's okay, I guess. Yeah, I see Exxon on this big dip. Where's Chevron at? Chevron pulling back, I'm assuming, on this dip too. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the size. I don't hate it. I'll have to keep watching it though.
All right, so we are moving up. Tesla is up there. Is Tesla a buy right now? When is your next crypto sheet dream? Either today or tomorrow, I think. Countdown for what? Economic data is already out here, guys. Is my phone flying now? Let me try typing something. Okay, that works.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying.
All right, guys, we got 10 minutes left. I had to sit past 2 weeks in pain. Glad I waited. Are you in Tesla? Yeah, I'm in Tesla. But I got in at like the 140s. So I'm in at a really low level. All right. Tesla's not a car company. Yeah, they're mostly a technology company. 10 minutes. There's a ECB talk. What are the ECB members talking about? Let me go back. Yes, we had jobless claims PPI. I don't see any ECBs. Tomorrow we have consumer sentiment, some Fed members speaking. Hours into the open, we got point. Yeah, we got 8 minutes to the open. Yeah, my average price in Tesla is 140, roughly 140. So.
All right, guys. 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes. Yeah, there's not really any other economic data. It's kind of slow right now. We're going to trade the open and day trade the opening bell. But again, we're also already up a ton in our funded account. So we made, again, earlier today we trade CHOP in our Apex funded account. We are up 550 already trading said CHOP. And so I don't know whether I should trade this account or switch to a different funded account or challenge account that I have and just trade that. I'm not sure what to do here. Yeah, what do you guys think? You know, we're already up a lot. Let me play with this a little bit and see what kind of accounts I got on here. Okay. I should have Quant Tower up. I think Rhythmic is up. I don't have any other funded ones on Trade Evade. I've got 2 funded ones. One that I'm waiting a withdrawal, and the other one I'm already up 525 on the day. I guess I could trade this one. I just don't feel like giving it back necessarily. You know, I'm up about 820s total here, so I don't really want to give it back. But we'll see. Yeah. What do you guys think I should do? I'm from Louisiana. Hey, later, Freddy. NVIDIA looks like it's going to rock it up. Yeah, NVIDIA's had a very strong couple weeks. Breaking lifetime highs after the split and stuff like that. So I guess we're going to trade on Quant Tower. Quant Tower's back up and running, I think, right? Yeah, I either go super heavy and trade with the big risk that I have, or, yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Market's kind of flat leading into all this stuff, though, so. Quant Tower's good. All right, cool. All right. Is Rhythmic down? Significant delays detected while requesting history. Okay, so there we go. Maybe it's just is the NASDAQ down? Weird. I guess I'm gonna trade the E-mini today. Yeah, catch it back up. Gold. Do you think Nvidia shares will get as high as they did? I'm not sure. I think Nvidia's up a lot. The arguments, there could be both sides of the argument. We got a minute and a half left until the open chat. Minute and a half left. Economic data is basically done for the day. So now we just kind of got the post-economic PPI report day here. We'll see what we get. We got less than a minute. Tesla falling, Apple moving up, Nvidia still green on the day. Nvidia just broke highs again, got us to almost 130. I didn't even see that. Yeah, look at Nvidia up here, chat. Nvidia's kind of breaking highs up there again. Kind of crazy. All right, 30 seconds. Nvidia breaking lifetime highs right before the opening bell. So it looks like Nvidia is going to break lifetime highs ahead of the opening bell today. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. All right, there's the open. Let's watch Nvidia. Let's watch the S&P. Dips ahead of the, there's dips post-open here. Nvidia at 129. Let's watch that. Watch the SPY come down with it, see if it follows suit here. Yeah, I think Tesla's doing a lot of things, specifically AI related and full self-driving related. So I think FSD is going to be their future. I think the big thing about Tesla is that within 10 years, we're going to have full self-driving cars. I think once it starts, it's going to snowball and have like a huge domino-like effect of strength coming in. I think more people are going to want full self-driving cars, and that's going to, if Tesla positions themselves correctly with FSD, they're going to be on the forefront of one of the big technology growths using AI and FSD. And so in that regard, they're technology, but yes, currently they're definitely a car company as well. You know, I'm more looking at the future and what that means for them. Nvidia at 129.60s. So Nvidia just broke highs. Although markets are kind of chopping back down here. Tesla's falling. Speaking of Tesla. Again, if you want to day trade on Apex with me, they got a 1-day pass right now, which means that if you take the test and pass it today, you get funded today. 1-day pass, you get the 250K challenge for only $48 right now if you pass it. If you fail, you're only out $48. If you pass it, you get 250K in funding with a 90% split. Say you get funded, you make 20K, you get to keep 18 of that, which is 90%. You get to keep your first 25K in profit, and it's the best way to learn day trading with limited risk. Instead of risking and probably losing thousands of dollars for your first account trying to day trade, try a funded account program. You get free data, which makes it valuable as itself. They give you a demo. They test your skill with a demo. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you lose, you're only out what you pay for it. You still keep 90% once you're funded if you follow their rules. If you fail, you're out less than $50. It's the best of both worlds. Great way to learn how to day trading. And in the futures market, you can day trade short, buy market, sell market. Very similar to day trading stocks, but there's no PDT rule. You can day trade essentially the SPY and Q action in the NASDAQ E-mini and the S&P E-mini, gold, a lot of other stuff. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns, but there's no PDT rule. You can check them out right here. They are a sponsor of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased because they pay me money. But we're going to buy this dip. This is the regular E-mini. We will add another position here. You know, we're buying this dip because I see Nvidia start to rise. And so, you know, it's definitely risky, but hey, we're just trying to have fun with it. Yeah, and this isn't the most important account. We'll see if we get a reversal. I'm trying to be patient. But, I do see NVIDIA start to turn here, so I don't think I like this. Yeah, I'm going to cut it. NVIDIA, if it turns down, that's just too much risk. So we'll wait. And we'll switch back to this one, I think, which is our funded account. Hey, this one's just not super important. The other one I'm trading. NVIDIA has turned all the way back down, guys. All the way back down. I don't like it at all. SPY's at 542s. Let's watch NVIDIA. NVIDIA's sitting right at the 200 EMA. Right at the 200 EMA. All right, there's NVIDIA. Just broke all the way down to the 200 EMA and below it. Looks weak, but who knows? It might not hold down there. Again, we're right at the bottom of the range here, so depends on if you think we're going to get choppy behavior or not up here. Market is fearing the Fed may overdo it, and jobless claims is the icing on the cake. Jobless claims is a weekly report, though, brother. So jobless claims is not like the craziest, biggest report here. I'm going to short this with a small risk. Very close to cutting this. All right, we're gonna have to get out of this. We're out. So we're still at 425. I don't want to give back my profit on the day here. So again, you kind of see I'm trying to limit my risk on a lot of these accounts. So I guess we'll keep trading this, but I got to be careful with it. I could also take a big swing and go for it, but we are getting that choppy behavior. The NVIDIA chart bounced right at the 200 EMA, like exactly at the 200 EMA level. And so Tesla is now weak as well. It depends on if Tesla follows it down. Apple's now bouncing up too. So yeah. Do you trade normal spot or leverage? What are you talking about? You must be talking about crypto, dude. I trade mostly stocks and futures. Right now we got choppy behavior. Why are we quiet? Because I'm already up on the day. I'm kind of looking at other stuff. You know, we're watching Apple. We're watching a bunch of stuff move. So I'm just kind of sitting tight, seeing if we get some better action here. AVGO, Broadcom, Apple, NVIDIA to the moon. Yeah, NVIDIA is back up over the VWAP here, which is what I'm trying to avoid, like losing on. Apple just broke highs of the day again, though. How are you guys? Green or red this week? Are you green or red this week? Let me know. Big red, green, green. Hey, buddy. Love you, babe.
Love you.
Have a good day, bud.
Okay, bye.
Love you, buddy. Bye-bye. All right, now we're getting dips again. Again, choppy behavior, unless I'm going to attack the chop, which I'm not as confident in attacking the chop now just because, you know, we've already had that choppy behavior leading into the economic reports. Now all the economic reports this week are done. We don't have anything else coming out this week, right? So I think the markets are more able to run without some strings attached to it necessarily. So I don't know, guys. We're going to try to be smart. Tesla went all the way up to 191s in pre-market. It's now dipping down a little bit. We're at the top of the range day-wise here, but the SPY is right over the VWAP as well. So I don't, it's too much conflicting signals here for me to really want to take some trades. All right, so now we're coming all the way back down. Again, choppy signals here. Y'all just be careful today. Tomorrow's Friday. It might be worse. What do you guys think? Let me see. What's VWAP? VWAP's the volume weighted average price. Yeah, I typically get funded in a day, and you got to take risks when you're getting funded. It's much different than when you're actually funded than trying to get funded. Like when I'm trying to get funded, I'll just kind of swing for the fences, see if I can get it. Once I'm actually funded, though, my strategy changes completely, right? I trade much smaller, much safer, much lower size, much less risk, much more rules, much more discipline. But everybody, again, is different. If you want to try to get funded, link in the description. Coupon code BT will get you that discount. But yeah, for now, again, in my funded accounts, I got to be risk averse, right? I gotta avoid risk. Try not to swing too heavy. Try not to go too hard in things because, again, I got to preserve those accounts. It's different than when I'm, my other account I'm up thousands in. 50 billion, yeah, $56 billion pay package. So again, now we're starting to come back down. We're kind of sideways neutral activity here. Yeah. All right, so the Nasdaq's dipping a little bit more than the S&P, or the S&P, I'm sorry, is dipping a little bit more than the Nasdaq. I'm looking at tech. Tesla's bouncing back up. Nvidia's still at the top of the range, though. Apple's still consolidating towards the highs, like right around the highs of the day, which around the lifetime highs, I think, as well. All right, guys. So I think the Nasdaq is going to come down. I could also just trade. You know. I could also just trade micros, but I think that's less interesting. Yeah, so we are trading on one of our funded accounts in the background here. We're going to go ahead and take half off and just lock it in, but look at that fill. We're now technically green on the day, though, after losing a little bit, but we still have this one contract that I guess we could add to it into this resistance spot here. Fix that average, see if we reject, and just play risk with what we basically were down on the day. Bad fill on that remaining position, though. Again, it depends on if we get choppiness or not today. At least we're green in the day heading into this one. All right, there we go. We're rejecting back down. Wait, where did my... I got too many freaking windows here, guys. Boring price action. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to probably close it down. I just don't see anything I like. And so, again, if you haven't already, check out Apex. You want to day trade with me. It's a great way to learn how to day trade. I always tell people the same thing. Like, listen, if you're trying to learn to day trade, do not risk thousands of dollars trying to put the money up yourself day trading. It just makes no sense. It's super risky. It's unnecessary. And instead, you could try a funded account program. Limit your risk. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. If you pass it, you still get funding. With 90% split. So in that regard, it's similar to putting the money up yourself. There's just less risk, right? If I lose this, I'm down like $50 instead of actually being down 300. And I think that's a powerful thing. Teaches you how to trade under pressure, all that good stuff. And so again, if you want to check it out, here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. I'll put the link up one more time. They're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased. But again, you can get the 250K challenge for only $48 using my link. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Hey, I love you all. Y'all be safe. Be good. Kind of a boring day for trading. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble. I might just let this one run a little bit, see if I get funded, but But if not, it's all good. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be safe. Tomorrow we got some stuff going on too, so we'll see what happens tomorrow as well. I think we got consumer sentiment data tomorrow, so we'll see what that looks like. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good.